Welcome everyone to the Power Core Podcast, where we discuss, review, and fanboy over anything and everything Marvel Strike Force. Now, get ready for two of the most mediocre gamers in the cosmos. It's your hosts, Hebrew Hammer and the Irishman.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Power Core Podcast. That's right, episode number 2, and I am Hebrew Hammer, and I'm sitting across from, as always, my co-host, the Irishman.
Hey, guys.
And we are going to be going over a lot of stuff today. Irish, why don't you go ahead and give us the breakdown of what we're going to be going over?
All right. Well, first off, there was an announcement released by the Strike Force team regarding character release process. And so we'll go into that. That'll be quick. Then we're going to touch on the Blitz, because I know everyone's asking questions about the Blitz and how to optimize and stuff, and we're going to go into a deep dive on that, especially with Cable coming up.
That's right.
And then we're going to talk about the events. I know there's a lot of confusion around the events, what their purpose is.
A lot of them.
Longevity, people kind of caught off guard by it a little bit. I noticed that in my alliance. And then we're going to do a character deep dive into Spiderman. And then we're going to talk about the beta gap. I know there's some controversy around the beta gap. Yeah. And then after that, we'll end with our question of the day.
That's right.
So, and just to start us off, the Marvel Strike Force team, they released the character release process. And usually we don't, include these kind of little announcements, but this one seemed pretty important and it gave a lot of context. So I'm just going to read it word for word and allow you guys to kind of process that. So to kind of start us off, it says, we'd like to provide some information on how characters are released in the Marvel Strike Force. Generally, a new character makes their debut as the main prize in Blitz mode. At the same time, that hero is made available for purchase in the featured character orb. Once the Blitz ends, the character is added to the Ultimus orb. After some time, the character is added to the Premium orb. Finally, the character is added to a campaign node, a store, and then an orb, etc. This is the usual path for our characters, but does not apply to all of them. Characters released through events such as Deadpool may be released through other game modes. Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Vision are the first characters to go through this process and have been added to the Ultimus orb. Oh boy. Thank you for playing Marvel Strike Force.
Yeah, so this is, I'm glad that they kind of went over this for everyone.
Absolutely.
This to, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes players, this is pretty normal. This kind of follows suit to what they do. And to me, it makes sense. It keeps, that monetary value there for whales to come in, so they get their money.
It teases out that exclusivity.
And it does have that exclusivity factor. But it also eventually allows you to make these characters farmable, at least most of them, because some of them are going to be, you're going to stay exclusive, like Thanos and stuff like that. I don't want that to come around.
Thanos is going to stay exclusive until the next Infinity. Okay? Even then, it's going to stay exclusive. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some characters that are too big in the Marvel Universe to make them.
He is the big bad. Like, if they made him farmable right off the bat, that would kind of suck for all the people that put in all that hard work.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't want that. There's some characters that I feel like it should be, it should take you a very long time to
with that said, I do want him to be farmable. But, I'm patient. I'm willing to wait that out. So especially for someone like Thanos. So
yeah, but so I mean, this is good. I'm glad that they kind of told everyone. They must have gotten a lot of confusion from people, or saw the confusion from people.
Well,
are you going to make this farmable?
This is a cool indicator because it tells us that the Marvel Strike Force team is listening, and they're willing to communicate their thoughts and their agenda as far as what the process is.
Yeah, so, I mean, at least hope this kind of is another step in the right direction for them communicating. I know there's been some problems with communication on their part before. They did post up something on Reddit a little while ago from the dev team, finally. But then they kind of didn't really follow up with some of the things they said they were going to do.
As long as they don't follow Bungie's lead, then we will be good. So.
Yeah. Or Pokemon Go's lead. Either one of us. But anyways, okay. So let's go ahead and get started on the next segment. We're going into
the Blitz, yeah. So this is kind of the meat and bones of this whole episode. Is the Blitz, because I know I'm one of those guys. I'm still learning. I know Hebrews kind of try to help me understand things. And during this conversation, I'm going to kind of be taking the stance of kind of like the naive, new player, because I am the new player, and he's going to take the stance of the teacher. So I'm going to try to ask as many questions as possible, hopefully clarify things.
Yeah.
And make sure that we understand exactly how to work the blitz, essentially.
Yeah.
So.
And so, just to give you a heads up, it seems simple from the outside. Superficially, it does seem simple, but there's a good bit of intricacy to this. And so I'm going to try to keep it as easy to understand as possible. And I want to go ahead and preface with, this isn't like some revolutionary method. This is a method that I feel like everyone eventually, after doing it enough, stumbles upon.
Yeah.
So this isn't like some kind of crazy new method.
And also, this isn't, we're not saying this method is the end-all, be-all of Blitz.
Yeah. To my knowledge, I think it's the only real way to make things happen.
Yeah.
But
who knows? Maybe a new character releases and kind of upends this whole strategy.
Or like a new mechanic change.
Yeah, things can change. It's not going to, but as far as we know, this is the best approach currently. So
yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down. I'm going to start with the macro aspects of Blitz, and then I'll break it down from there into the micro.
All right.
So first of all, the two biggest things are you have your points and your multiplier.
Okay.
And your points are dependent upon your multiplier. So the higher your multiplier is, the more points you're going to get per victory. And then the second thing to note is, and this should be fairly obvious, but the higher power level your team is, the more points you're going to be getting, period. So now that we have that kind of set up, one of the biggest things you need to understand is at the beginning, your multiplier is going to be very low. You start off on a very low area, so that way you're not going to be getting a lot of points no matter what team power you're playing with. So because of that, you're basically going to start using your feeder teams, is what I call them, which is basically any team that you can scrounge up from the lower levels. Anyone that's not your top 2 or 3 teams. And you're going to be using them to feed that multiplier up. So it takes 4 wins to move up in the multiplier.
And anyone that's played the Blitz already, hopefully everyone's been playing the Blitz a little bit because you have to do it for your dailies, but you've seen those 4 bars on the reward screen and the progress that you make on that.
Right, and those 4 bars, you basically want to get those up. Each time you're going to start with like your lowest feeder team, and you're going to get probably 2 victories or so with them, and then you're going to go up to your next your next lowest team, and you're going to get 2-3 victories with them, and then so on and so forth, and just kind of work your way up.
I just want to clarify that. So you said next lowest. So you're saying that the highest of the low is what you're saying?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably phrased that stupidly, but
that's why I'm hearing.
But yeah, I mean, So you're gonna start off with your lowest, and then after you eliminate them, you're going to be using
the next rung.
Right,
feeders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to be basically working your way up until you get to your highest teams, which are going to be your basically your point maker teams.
Yeah,
so
and those are your A, B, and C teams.
Right. So, and basically you're going to be trying to use these feeder teams until you get up to as high as you can, but usually you're going to get up to around like 1.5, maybe 2.
I was going to say I tested it out on the Spiderman Blitz with my feeder teams, and I hit 1.5, and then after that I hit a dead end, reset, and I was like, oh crap, so then I moved up to my tier C team.
Right.
And went from there.
Yeah, and the whole point of this is to make sure that you're not using those charges on your high-end teams in the low multipliers where you're not going to get any benefit from them. You want to basically use people that aren't going to give you points anyways to bring that multiplier up, so that way you can actually make some real points with your main teams whenever you're at a higher multiplier.
Now, at the same time, you still recommend using the charges on the feeder team?
I do recommend, and this is going to vary based on how hard you want to go on this blitz.
Okay.
But I certainly, because you usually get an ample amount of charges, especially with the bigger ones, you're going to usually pass with at least one of the challenges, one of the blitz charge challenges.
Okay.
So that's usually going to fill you right back up. But yeah, I usually start off with, I'll recharge all those feeder teams. I'll never go past the 50 threshold. Like I'll never do 50.
Yeah, always stop at 25.
I'll only do on the 25.
Okay.
And especially at the beginning, you're probably not even going to use the 25, all 25 charges, all of the 25 value charges, I should say, of your feeder teams, because they're going to start out leveling you.
Well, and let's talk about that for a second. So initially, I've got my my lowest rung team, right? And I go in, it doesn't cost me anything, right? After that, the 25 comes up.
Right.
Okay. Do you know how many 25 opportunities I get with a single team?
Yeah, it's usually 425.
425 opportunities.
I'm pretty sure I remember that.
But when it comes to the feeders, you're probably only going to get, 1 to 2 opportunities? And then after that, you're pushing your luck, right?
Yeah, like I usually start off with a team that is, I think all of them are 74 and then one of them is 114. So I have 4 people that are 74 and then one is 114 value. And so that makes a really low power level altogether.
Yeah.
But I basically use that team for 3 victories is usually what I'll do.
3.
And because at that point it gets, even though the other team is valued are still a little bit lower than me,
they start to synergize better.
Yeah, because it starts getting a little prickly.
Well, I kind of noticed, like that's your feeders.
Yeah.
But you may be going against someone that just started and they're focused on optimizing maybe a really meta team, right?
Yeah.
And so it's sure they may have a lower power level, but they've got Quake, Yondu, and Crossbones on that team compared to
you should always try
minions and stuff like that.
You should also always try to shoot for teams that you see with minions.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay away from those guys.
Yeah. So you should always try to do that. But that's one of the biggest things. It's just that whenever you kind of feel like during your victories, your early victories, whenever you kind of feel like it's getting harder, like all right, that was a little too close. Like I only had 2 people left, or
don't push
even
your
3
luck.
people left.
Move
like
to the next
go to the next team.
Okay.
Or the next team up, I should say.
Yeah.
And so using that kind of strategy, you can very easily start climbing up that ladder, and lo and behold, whenever you're finished up with your feeder teams, you are going to be already sitting at, a ×2 multiplier with all of the charges left on your big teams, and you're going to be getting.
Well, and this is assuming that you've been playing the game as long as Hebrew. So I'm not one of those people. I started using my C team, which is a very kind of like thrown together team. It's not synergetic at all. But that team I moved to that around the 1.5 multiplier.
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, it'll vary based on how big your roster is alone.
Exactly.
So
don't expect, you may only get 1 use out of that team because you're just starting out, you're level 25 or something. Like, don't feel bad you weren't able to get 3 uses out of a feeder team. Right. So,
but this is still a strategy that you want to take.
Absolutely. This is what you want to get
forward,
to
and
eventually.
This is kind of just what you're going to start using.
Yeah.
So using that, you should end up, by the time that you finish up and get to your main team, a lot of people who are around the middle ground as far as their leveling and how many people they have, they'll be around the 1.5. I'd say is pretty normal.
Okay.
And so once you're there, you're going to be getting a lot more points with your main teams. And from there on out, you're going to be spending every single day, you're going to be doing all of your 25 recharges on your A and your B and your C team if you can afford it. And what's important about this is that every single day, whenever it does the daily reset, that charge value reset. So if you made it to the 50 threshold for all of your teams, today, whenever tomorrow hits, it'll be reverted back to the beginning of the 25 value.
And it'll go, you get a free use out of each character, and then it's the 5 per.
Yeah, you always want to, especially if it's a character that you really want, you always want to try to time yourself around those free battles that you get, because that's just a free victory. Who doesn't want that? So yeah, I mean, and you get a good amount of those a day. So you should always try to utilize those to the best of your capabilities.
One little thing that I want to throw out there, because some people may not think about it, is when it comes to your teams, you want to make sure that they're all around the same level.
Yes, good point.
Because if you say and I experienced this earlier. I threw, because I don't have Night Nurse on my A team. I have her on my B team, and I threw her into my B team in a blitz, and she's like 4 or 5K above everyone else.
Oh boy!
And I got stuck with I got slaughtered.
Yeah,
it was
that's
bad.
terrible.
So I learned the hard way. But yeah, after doing that, I was kind of like, okay, like I need to keep the characters probably within 1 or 2K of each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't go any more than that, because whenever you start doing that, it really starts to screw over. If that one character that was up higher, that brought everyone else up higher, is dead, or especially if they're a support where they can't even really do much, then you are in trouble.
Yeah, suddenly my 14K Night Nurse is getting paired up with a 14K Gamora surrounded by 2 10K tanks.
Exactly. And the rest of your team's sitting at 8K or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that kind of stuff is important. You do want to keep that power levels between everyone pretty tight. Now, another thing, so whenever you get up into that, you want to try to shoot for, by doing this method, you can usually get up to around like ×4 multiplier or so. That's the sweet spot. If you can get a little, I mean, you're probably going to get...
And I'll say, just interject real quick, but Hebrew will get up to the 4 multiplier.
Right, this is subjective too.
He's level 60, guys. So
there's a lot of level 60.
Well, I know, but I know there's a lot of people that are listening that are not going to be level 60. So don't feel obligated like, I failed because I didn't get the.
But you
4
still
multiplier.
you still can get up to ×4 multiplier at a low level, because it doesn't really have anything to do with how powerful you are. It's managing your victories appropriately, which I'm going to get into now.
Okay.
So like when I was much younger, like I made it up to the top 500, and I was in the ×4 multiplier the whole time, and I was relatively early on in the game.
Okay.
But so one of the most important things that you can do is you want to manage your victories. You want to always pay attention to that victory bar where you need the 4 bars in order to increase your multiplier. It's important to note that the most important out of all of these victories are your first victory and your 4th victory. And this is super key, because if you lose on your 4th, you're going to drop all the way down to the beginning of that multiplier again, which sucks. That's so much progress lost. And if you lose on your 1st, then you're dropping all the way down to the beginning of the last multiplier, which is even worse. That's so disheartening. So it's really good to note that at the beginning of a new multiplier, everyone is usually going to be a little lower than you. As the multiplier gets higher, that range will get tighter.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you get high enough, they might even start out above you still, but it will never really be too much far above you. And that's at the worst case. Usually, for what everyone is going to be doing, for the most part, it's going to be they're still going to be lower than you. So those are going to be, the earlier on in that multiplier you are, the easier those victories are going to be. So whenever you get to the 4th victory, if you feel like this multiplier that you've been in has been already pretty tough, you don't think you could handle the next multiplier, throw in another feeder team and purposely lose that match. That way you start back at the beginning of that multiplier and you get more easy wins in that multiplier for your main teams again. And you didn't waste a charge using your main team just to lose.
Yeah, I have not been doing that. So
that's key to do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you want to secure victories with those as well, because like I said, those are the most important ones. Those are like the danger zones of losing a lot of progress. So whenever you're using a high level team, a high power level team, the power difference between you and your enemy can be dramatic. I mean, if you're playing a 60K team and you're on, let's say, the ×3 multiplier and you're on your 4th win, like the power level difference will probably be somewhere like you're 60 and they're probably going to be like 72 or something like that. 72,000.
Wow.
And so that's pretty dramatic, and that's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
So, but you can, the lower your team power is, the tighter that difference is going to be. So even in that same multiplier, on that same victory, if I was using a 20K team, then I would probably be going up against a 24K power team or something. So it makes it much easier to gain that victory with that lower level team. And you can have great synergy with that lower level team. You're not going to get as many points, obviously, but it'll be much easier to get that victory and go up to the next level so you get back to that easy spot. of the next
so
multiplier.
you're saying for the first and the fourth, what would you call it? Conflict or
battles?
Battle.
Yeah.
Right. For the first and fourth battle, you would recommend using your lower level team?
I would recommend using a lower level team because unless you know you can take them.
Well, in a lower level, so you're talking about your B team, right? Maybe your C team.
Well, that's not necessarily true. So it depends on how high up in the multiplier level you are. Like at the beginning, like I said, it's the easiest. There's still a bigger risk involved with the first one if you lose. Mm-hmm. But usually, if you're at a decent multiplier, you're not crazy high in the multipliers. It's still going to be, they're going to be below you on the level. You can probably swing it with your A or B team. But once you get into like the times 4 multipliers, times 5 multipliers, then it can be real risky still to get that victory on the first one. And you might want to use one of your lower power teams to secure that victory, just so that way if you lose on your second or your third with your A or B team, you're not losing nearly as much progress, and you're certainly not going down another multiplier.
Yeah.
So, like battles 2 and 3, that's your sweet spot as far as you can really do whatever you want. And you're going to be safe, right? It's whenever you get to the first. It's the first battle that can knock you down. And it's the fourth one that'll knock you back.
And that's the thing is so what you're saying is because that first the first battle can knock you down. So you want to secure that win.
Yeah.
And ideally, you have a B team that is synergetic, right?
Yeah.
And they're all around the same level.
Yeah, your high power level teams, you should be having good synergy with them.
Yeah.
Because
that's a given.
You want to win with them.
People have been doing that for the raid and for the arena and stuff. So what you're saying is for that first battle, use your B team,
mm-hmm.
your synergetic B team.
Yeah.
Right. And secure that win because the difference is going to be a lot smaller than on the second and third battle, I guess.
Well, no, I mean it's going to be the first battle is always going to be typically the easiest out of all of the battles that you're going against.
Yeah.
But it's just the most important to secure.
Okay.
That's all. So it's just like if you're not sure that you can secure it, even if it's a little lower than you, if you're not sure that you can secure it, use that lower level team. That way, that power difference is even more dramatic because on the low end it works kind of opposite to the high end. So if you only have a little bit of a difference between you on your 60K team, if you bump down to your 20K team, the difference between you two are going to be even more dramatic. He's going to be much lower than you. It's going to be an even easier victory.
Okay.
So
use your B team and your C team whenever it makes sense on the first and the fourth.
Yeah, you got to kind of play it by ear, but basically you just want to make sure that you always secure your first and your fourth victory.
And using your A team on that first victory can kind of bite you in the butt, is what you're saying?
If you're at a high multiplier, and that difference is tight, yeah. But if you feel confident that you can take it out with your A team or your B team or whatever, any of your big point maker teams, then do it. But just make sure that you can do it, because if you lose, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
If you just want to be safe, use a low level team, secure that victory, and then you can do your big teams on 2 and 3 on battle 2 and 3. That's even better.
Yeah.
You won't get quite as many points because you missed out on using one of your big teams on a battle, but it's safer and you can potentially get it to an even higher multiplier.
And then you're saying for the fourth battle,
mm-hmm.
you're saying use your lower level team.
Yeah.
Because odds are if you're in a high multiplier, you're probably going to lose, right?
Yeah, with your higher level team.
So it's like it's number one. It's just better just not to waste charges on that high level one.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're trying to stay in that multiplier, then that sweet zone multiplier that you like, then put in a feeder team. If you're trying to just secure the victory, just to make sure you get up to the next multiplier, because once you get up to that next multiplier, like I said, it's easy again for a little bit, and then it'll get hard. But like if you want to secure that victory on the fourth win, use a lower level team. Don't worry about using your power team, because you want to just secure that victory just to get up to that next multiplier.
Okay.
Where your power teams are going to be getting even more points than before. And so if you do that method, and I know that this is complicated, guys. This is very complicated. I'm sorry. We're just about done with this segment.
And we're gonna, when we post this on the Reddit forums,
mm-hmm.
feel free to ask questions in the comments. So,
yeah.
And we'll do our best to respond.
Yeah. And but yeah, I mean that's basically the best strategy that I've seen, and it's kind of the general one that everyone's really doing.
Yeah.
And like I said, you kind of, just as I did, you kind of naturally stumble upon this method the more you play. There's just a lot of people that don't play Blitz and don't even particularly like Blitz. And I feel like a lot of the reason why they don't like Blitz is because it can be very frustrating if you don't do well and you lose all that progress constantly, and because you don't realize the small things that are happening, like the power level differences that they throw at you.
Well, and I think the first turnoff that I had with Blitz, because I was, like a lot of people,
you didn't do Blitz.
I did not like the Blitz. It just, for me, personally, it was because I didn't know where I was, right? So it says, hey, getting ranks 1 to 500 or getting ranks top 10%.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's a mystery.
It's a mystery. I'm like, I don't know what it takes to get to that point. I don't want to spend a bunch of cores and, or not cores, but charges to get to that point if I don't know where it is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's helped remedy that is there is an individual online that kind of gives a nice little, what would you call it? Just like a little guesstimate.
Well, it gives you like a breakdown of previous blitzes and what was needed, how many points were needed to get into those next tier rewards.
Okay.
And that's super important and really cool that they did that. But
that's not available in the game itself. So you will have to go outside the game and go on Reddit and search for that.
Yeah, but just to give you a little bit of a breakdown, I'm sure most people that are listening to this are in global launch. Mm-hmm. It's different because we have the beta shard and then we have the global shard. And for the point value of some of the big previous ones that we've had before, the most recent one we had was Wolverine, and the cutoff level to get to top 500 for that was 452,000 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
I've never gotten 450.
Yeah, and let me tell you right now that using this method especially, or even just like kind of playing in general, you can very easily get to that top 10%. It's really the points required to get to top 10% are very small.
So what was the points, for instance, for
Wolverine? So the points for Vision, they don't have one for Wolverine, but
okay.
Yet. But for Vision, the last Vision one, 102,000 points were needed to get to that top 10%. And
that's what? That's 45 shards.
That's
right?
45 shards.
Whoa.
That's enough to unlock him.
Wow.
Well,
I'm almost at 92 for Spiderman.
Exactly. It's really not that hard. Once you start employing this method, it's really not that hard to get up there. I've been in top 10% at least for all of mine. I've made it into the top 500 before. It's a pain, but by doing this method, it really makes everything a lot easier.
The other thing is so the charges restart every 6 hours. So if you really want to just be on top of it, you can just...
You're talking about the free...
Yeah, the free charge, right? So if you really want to be on top of it and just maximize your return, right?
Set alarms.
Don't have to, you can tell Siri or Google, be like, hey, remind me in 6 hours to play the game, and you'll get a little
Use technology to beat technology.
Yeah, exactly. Just make it easy on yourself, But yeah. So you can definitely... after speaking with Hebrew about this for way too long, I'm fairly confident that the majority of listeners can get up there in that 90 or in the top 10 or 10%.
The 1 to 10%. And that's really where you want to be. It's super easy to get up there, honestly, if you just start getting used to this method.
Vision was 45 shards to get Vision. Cable's going to be 45 shards to get Cable.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy. Granted, not all Blitz,
not everyone's going to get there.
Not all blitzes have the the shards for the top 10.
That's how it was with Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah, that's how it was for Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
that's how it was for one of the Vision ones.
That made me angry.
But with more desired characters, that the requirement amount needed goes up a bit.
Yeah.
And you really don't start to see that huge increase until you get to the top 500 needed. The points need to get into the top 500.
Yeah.
So just to give you an example, the amount needed for a Nebula to get into the top 500 were 320,000 points. It's not that much, honestly, in comparison to The other ones, like honestly,
that's kind of nice for Nebula fans, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can employ these methods. You know, whenever a champion's not super popular, it's really just anyone that's been around. Like even Wolverine was 452. He's more, but not up to the top. Whenever you look at someone like Vision, in order to get to his top 500, you needed on the first one 606,000 points to get to the top 500. Oh my God. That's almost double what you needed for Nebula.
Wow.
So you gotta.
I'd rather have Nebula than Vision. But,
Doctor Strange required 510.
Wow.
On his second.
Does that have Black Panther in there?
Yes, it does. Black Panther. I'm sure Black Panther was only 287, but you got to remember the requirement amount needed goes up more and more each time because
more and more people are playing.
More and more people are playing. More and more people are higher levels, so it's easier for them to get those points.
Yeah, interesting.
So it'll always go up a bit. It basically always will go up a bit, and then it will go up even more depending on if it's a desired character.
Okay.
Or not.
Okay.
So. Yeah. Anyways, that's Blitz.
Ooh, we got through it, guys. We did it.
I know it was very complicated, and just hearing it through a podcast, hearing people talk about it is probably even more confusing. But hopefully we broke it down a good bit. Hopefully you guys got some good information from that. And
like I said earlier, if you have questions, post it in the comments. Yeah. And we'll do our best to answer, and we'll just have to go from there. And I'm sure we're still going to be learning different things about the Blitz because it was pretty complicated whenever Hebrews had to explain it to me multiple times, and I'm not an idiot, so, I think. But yeah, I think that wraps up the Blitz. You want to move on to the next thing?
Yeah, let's go on to the next thing.
All right, next thing is events.
Ooh.
All right, so yeah, and I know there's been a lot of confusion around the events on what their purpose is, what the expectations are of completing events and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people in my alliance were very displeased with this event because it kind of came out of left field. I didn't see anything in my inbox from the Strike Force team explaining how the events worked regarding mainly the Merc event, right?
Well, they did. I mean, they did talk about how the Merc event specifically would work, but they didn't talk about how events in general were going to work.
Okay. Well, let's dive into that.
And yeah, so this is another thing that is pretty much just like Star Wars, or I assume is going to be just like Star Wars. The more this game does, the more you see those parallels between the two.
Yeah, it's made by the same studio, right?
No. I don't think Fox Next made Star Wars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, they didn't. But I mean, Disney is, they saw and they
it's Disney. Yeah, they got their tentacles everywhere. So.
But anyways, yeah. So this is regardless, they're taking the same approach, and it's a good approach. Like anyone that I don't want to be here promoting another game, but it's a great game, and it has a lot of longevity to it, honestly. And it's because of things like events that it has that longevity. And I think that it's important for a game, especially a mobile game, that where saturated market of mobile games, and especially freemium games, stuff like that, they go out of style real quick. And so it's
this game has an end game. Talking to you, Bungie.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, it's events are going to be key to the survival of this game.
Yeah.
And I think one of the important things, or I think one of the things that got people the most upset is whenever they see it, they're like, what the heck? I'm going to need like all of these startup mercenary characters to do this, and it lasts a day.
That was my first reaction.
Yeah. And that's totally understandable. But for those of us that have played Star Wars, we know that events they're going to be around. You're going to see a lot of different events. Like, throughout the course of this game, you're going to see a lot of new events come in. There's going to be legendary events. There's going to be flash events. This right here is a flash event.
Okay.
And by a flash event, I mean this is an event that comes around relatively often. Now, with Star Wars, they had a thing called a credit heist. And it's basically the same kind of thing as a money grab. And it came around every other week.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think we're going to see that here because credits aren't the
equivalent.
Well, yeah, the gold is the bottleneck in Marvel.
Yeah.
Credits was not the bottleneck in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I think that we won't see this quite as often as we did with Star Wars, but I think that, probably like once a month or so.
Okay.
You're probably going to see it. I could be wrong. Could be quicker.
It wouldn't surprise me if, during a dry spell, they release a couple events, in a month.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to take them time to come out with a whole bunch of events, but just to give you some context, I mean, in Star Wars now, there's tons and tons of events. I mean, we got legendary events, we got flash events, we got a whole bunch of different tiers of events.
And so from my understanding, the way, and let's talk about the Merc event, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the one that everyone's asking questions about.
Yeah, that's the one current.
Yeah. So the Merc event is, from my viewpoint, the way it works is it's going to come out for 24 hours, right?
Yeah, I think it's actually done.
Yeah, I think it's already done.
Yeah.
And then you have a mercenary team that you have to, some of us had to form. I had to form mine. And you have a first tier, which is 1 star. Mm-hmm. So you have to have 5 1-star mercs.
Yep.
And then you can fight on that tier and then farm it if you 3-star it, right?
Yeah, you can farm it for the rest of that time, yeah.
You have to do that if you don't have 2 stars, because the next tier is 2-star Merc event. Mm-hmm. And so, ideally, just like in challenges, right, with the token system, you want to optimize and get as much of those rewards as possible.
Yeah.
Within that 24-hour span.
Yeah, of course.
And in the meantime, between events, now, because you know the Merc event is going to come back around eventually. Yeah. So in the back of your mind, you're going, I've got some extra gold. I've got some extra, ability shards. I'm going to throw it into my Merc team because I know that event's going to come around, and I'm going to make sure I have a 2-star Merc team ready to go for the next time it comes. Because it's going to come and it's going to be the exact same, except Deadpool's not going to be on the picture. It's just going to be a bunch of mercenaries, right? And then you go from there. So it's a long game event.
It's meant to be like you're not going to complete the end tier of this right now.
No
you're not meant to.
Yeah.
You're going to be completing this a long time from now. I mean, there's events, and I've been playing Star Wars for like a year, and there's some events that I haven't even completed yet, and it gets even more difficult with things like the introduction of things like legendary events, where you need, only for this game, I guess it would be like you can only use hero characters, right, or city characters. Let's say that's even more.
Okay, yeah.
So you can only use city characters, and you have to have them. It's the same kind of progression system where you have to have a team of 5, and they can only be They can be 1 star for this one, 2 star for the next one, 3 stars, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be like it's going to take you a really long time to complete those. But like I said, it's supposed to do that. And that's what gives the game this longevity. It gives you something to work towards. And it gives you a reason to want to max out those minion characters that you normally wouldn't want to.
Yeah, and I agree. Before this event, I didn't see near as much value in the minions, except for maybe in Blitz, right?
But, and interesting synergies of teams and stuff like that as well. But
But now it brings a whole new value to those minions, and I'm kind of excited to upgrade
have a
those.
Reason to
have a reason to use those minions. Instead of them just sitting there collecting dust. Now I can go, I'm gonna get them up to 2 stars for the next time it comes around. Maximize that, and then in between the next event, I'm gonna go 3 stars. Now, obviously, I may get greedy, and I may want to get them all to 3 stars before the next event, and get as much gold as possible.
I mean, considering gold's the bottleneck, it's pretty valuable considering how much you got.
The Merc event is the one you probably want to prioritize right now until maybe they do some slight adjustments. So,
granted, it was meant to be like the biggest amount that you got was usually the gold orb that you got, and that's a first win bonus. So chances are those won't be back.
Okay.
If you've already completed it once and you grabbed those won't be back. You'll still get the flat amount of gold that you got, which is still a lot of gold. Yeah. But you won't get quite as much the first time. Yeah. You won't get quite as much as the first time.
Well, and you told me last night there was a couple other events that have already been released during the beta phase, was it?
Yeah, so they had the Iron Man event during the beta phase.
That one was extremely similar, but with S.H.I.E.L.D.
That was with S.H.I.E.L.D. members, yeah.
Okay.
And I believe Avenger members were allowed as well.
Okay.
But
they got a pass.
Yeah. But you needed to get people up to 5 stars in order to complete that one as well. Okay. Or like to complete all of that one as well.
And that's the thing. If you are starting at the bottom, you're not going to complete it because you only have 3 tokens, and there's 6 tiers. So
but the rewards are great in those kind of things. I mean, like that's
Absolutely.
how you unlock Iron Man. You're getting a free Iron Man out of it. You know, it's going to take you a bit to unlock him, but I mean, you're getting a great character for free that's going to be leveled up a good bit.
So there was the Iron Man one. There was another one that you spoke of. Was it a Nobu or Nubu?
No.
Nubu?
The only other one that I remember off the top of my head, at least, is the Rocket Raccoon one that they also had in beta. But as far as, you know, how these things are going to work, you know, there's going to be, not all of the events that come out are going to be only 24 hours. Those are going to be flash events. You know, some of them are going to be varying in length. Some of them are going to be a week. Some of them are going to be a couple days. You know, and then the rewards are going to vary. What's required is going to vary, obviously. Like I said, it could be a very niche, like, you know, city villains only, or I'm sorry, city people only. Could even be like
it could be city villains.
City and hero, city and villain. Yeah, that's it. So it could get super niche. So so I mean that's basically events in a nutshell.
So don't feel bad if you miss this event. Just, you know, have that in the back of your mind, and when you're sitting there and you've got all these green ability shards that you can spend and you don't have anything else on your plate, you can go, oh, I'm going to get ready for that Merc event that's going to come back around, or that Shield event, you know. Because I really want Iron Man because he's like the only blaster in the game. But, you know, that's the thing is don't feel bad if you missed out on it. So it will be back.
Yeah.
It's cool. Well, yeah, I think that kind of wraps up the events.
Yeah, I think so.
If you guys have questions, like I said, ask questions in the comments. So the next thing on the agenda is a character deep dive. We're going to try to do one of these an episode.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be relevant to what's happening in the game. And, you know, the most recent Blitz that we had was Spiderman. And so we figured, hey, let's take a deep dive into Spiderman because Spiderman's the boss.
Yeah, so
he's awesome.
First of all, I guess, do you want to start off with the abilities?
Well, let's talk. So Spider-Man, he's a hero city bio brawler. Yes. Okay, he is a brawler. He is his description is a quick attacker that weakens opponents and evades incoming attacks. So, and we'll go ahead and dive into the abilities. Cool.
Especially for the AI, he certainly does.
Yeah, he's great on the AI team. I don't know what it is. So to kind of start us off, he's got his basic ability, which is called the Agile Attack. And what it entails is he attacks a primary target and starts off at 80% and goes up to 210%. And it has a 50% chance to chain up to one adjacent target for 60% damage. That goes to 70% chance to chain up to... And it stays at one adjacent target, but it goes up to 120%. And then he's got a 30% chance to evade, and that evade goes up to 40% when it's maxed out. And that concludes his basic attack.
Yeah.
Or basic ability. And
pretty simple, basic.
Pretty straightforward. It's got a nice chain to it. One of the other brawlers that has a chain on their basic attacks. So, and then let's go ahead and move on to his second ability. His special ability, I looked it up, so it's called special. All right. So his special ability is called Web Slinger. He attacks the primary target for 120% and chain up to 2 adjacent targets for 80% damage. That primary target damage will go from 120 to 140, not a whole lot. And it will chain from 1 to 2 people to 2 to 3 adjacent targets. Mm-hmm. And that chain damage actually climbs up pretty decently from 80% to 130%. What this also does is it gives the targets that he attacks has a 25% chance to apply defense down for 1 turn. So, and that's to all the targets that chain.
Right, so, and that goes up to...
That goes from 25 to 100%.
100%.
Yeah. That is a pretty baller ability.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Especially defense down. I'm sure plenty of you guys have seen that where you get that defense down and then you throw Gamora on that minion that is defense down and you just wipe the floor with them. And it feels great unless it's happening to you. Yeah. So, I did notice too with Crossbones, I had defense down. I just wanted to try it, and I had defense down on him, and I ultied, and oh my god, I went to death proof. Like I was literally had 0 health.
Oh,
and, I was almost at full health. I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's defense down. There's nothing to play around with. So, but that concludes his special ability, Web Slinger. His ultimate ability is called Tangled Web, and what that consists of is it applies a stun to a primary target for 1 turn, and attacks the primary target for. I have it maxed out. Attacks it for 140% damage. That damage goes from 140% to 440%. So pretty monstrous damage. Super reliable. I've never experienced anything unless I was blinded that where I missed the stun.
It can block and stuff too.
You can block and
it can be resisted.
Okay. It's been really reliable for me.
He has really good focus though, so if I remember correctly, he has really good focus.
Okay.
So he does usually get it off,
yeah.
But there are times whenever it will not happen.
Now, this is a little thing that you may have not read in the abilities if you have looked at it, but the ability starts off with 2 ability energy, and it goes up to starting off with 3 ability energy at level 4. And so it just gives you a little bit, it speeds up the ability to pull that ability off, right?
Right.
That summarizes Tangled Web, his ultimate ability. And then he has a passive ability, which is called Spidey Sense. And basically, it's a flat increase on dodge chance. And it goes from 5% to 20%. Comes in clutch sometimes. Sometimes it's not so reliable. So, but he's one of the only characters with built-in passive dodge. So, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, one of the... As far as him in the meta is concerned, also you did mention he had evade on his basic, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he has. In case we didn't, he has evade on his basic.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the the biggest things about him is that he's very squishy.
Yes.
He drops down in health very quickly, and so I could never really put him on my A team and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because of that. There's so many better options.
The only time I've felt comfortable with him is I've had 2 tanks that I could throw a taunt on, and that's not including crossbones, because ideally you don't really taunt with crossbones. But yeah, so and even then, there's been times where someone's got a chain attack.
Yeah, someone's got a chain attack, and it'll go really screwy.
In my very inexperienced opinion, I think his dodge chance needs to kind of be a little buffed.
You mentioned something the other day about him that I did like, which was that the lower his health went, the higher his dodge chance.
Oh man,
that would be really cool.
People would
if they implemented that.
It would be. I think that would be really cool, and it would fit the theme of Spiderman really well. So. But I think people would be throwing their phones. I think
you're right. Very rage prone.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a more unique mechanic, I should say. Jesus.
Yeah.
But it's a more unique mechanic, and I think that it would definitely be cool to have in his kit specifically.
Yeah.
And especially it would make...
It'd be kind of a Razor's Edge kind of character.
It's like it at least... I don't know. Just with him being that squishy, it makes up for it a good bit.
Yeah.
And even then, I would still say maybe give him some more health or a little bit more armor or something. But
and I understand him being squishy and stuff, but at the same time, he's Spider-Man. He's got that Spidey sense. He should be.
And he's not super durable. I mean, he's not like super squishy in the comics. He's pretty durable. I mean,
yeah, he's durable.
I mean,
ultimately, he's still an arachnid. So
but I mean, you see him get thrown against the wall, and he gets right back up. I mean, he can handle some stuff.
He's tough.
He can handle some stuff. But either way, I mean, he's very squishy, and it's unfortunate because it's just one attack sometimes, right at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You look at him,
Gamora ulti, she's
and you're looking at you're almost dead. You're starting off the match almost dead, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just really disheartening to have, and you don't even know if you're going to be able to get your ultimate off, and it could just basically be a waste of a character at that point. So I choose a more reliable person for that.
Yeah, and the recommendation right now is he's not necessarily meta. So if you're investing a lot and you expect him to pay off in the future when you're going against meta characters, just don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, I mean, some people swear by him, and I respect that. It's a gamble character, is how I see it.
Yeah.
But as far as that, we've kind of shit on him enough. Let's talk about some good things about him.
Yeah.
So, some of the great things are he does have a really high chance of that dodge, that passive dodge he has is great. And 25% chance is nothing to scoff at. And then on top of that, he has the evade with his basic, which is even more amazing because you
time that well when, Yondu is about to throw his ult out or something like that.
Yeah.
Then boom, you just avoided his ult, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a guaranteed chance of evade, but it
increases the chance.
It's enough.
And then he's got a super reliable stun.
Yeah, his stun is amazing.
Yeah.
That's definitely the best thing of his kit.
Yeah, that saved me against a crossbones actually earlier today.
Yeah.
So, and I managed to get the stun off, and I had a crossbones on my team, so I knew his ulti was coming up.
Yeah.
And I got the stun off, and it delayed him, and I was able to take him out before he got his ult off. So
exactly. And
so it's a character that I really enjoy. I think his kit is really good. I just think it needs a little bit fine tuning, but other than that, like he's also got the potential to be really OP. So if they tune him a little too much, he could really turn into a monster. So,
yeah, I agree. I think that if it would be totally fine if they increased his health or his armor a little bit, maybe both. But he just dies too quick right now for what he's able to do. Yeah. And his damage isn't that great, except for his ultimate, though. His ultimate is great damage. But
and the defense down on his special ability,
defense down is great. That's amazing.
Especially once you max it out to 100%.
Yeah. Then that's really good. Yeah. Obviously, super reliable. And it can really help out. He really definitely starts to shine far more whenever you have that ability. That's for sure. But yeah, he's just, you have to invest a lot in him to see more out of him. And basically, in summation, at that point, whenever I invested so much in a character, I feel like with other characters, I would just get more out of it.
And don't feel bad because the developers, if they're running their data sets on it, they're going to be able to look at it and go, okay, this guy needs a little bit of love,
Yeah, no character set in stone.
Yeah, absolutely. So do not get upset if your favorite Quake gets a little nerf here or there. So because I am forecasting that's probably going to be one of the ones that's coming around. But he was like, yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe. We'll see. But
yeah, this game is dynamic, so don't expect it to be static at all. So
well, let's go ahead and move on. We're gonna go ahead and skip over the beta gap actually this time because we're hitting much longer period of time than we originally intended.
Yeah, the beta gap is going to be a deep talk too.
Yeah, so we'll save that for next time. Let's just move on to question of the day.
All right, here we go. So question of the day, and we want to hear from you. If you want to respond, please respond. So question of the day: what character do you want to see most in the game?
Yeah, this is super cool.
And I'm gonna start off right because we think so. We have a goofy one that we want to see and a serious one.
The goofy one was not planned. We were both like,
we're not planned. We haven't told each other, but we think it could be the same. But I think it's gonna be different just because I tried to pull it out of left field. But my goofy one that I would love to see in the game is Domino.
Okay, different person, but close.
Okay, good. And I think it'd be hilarious because she is so game breaking, right? So all her percentages would be 100% because she's Domino. So it'd just be like
chance to dodge, like 99% or something.
Yeah, like luck is just through the roof. She doesn't do anything that's like super powerful or anything, but she just gets lucky all the time.
I mean, she would be. I could see them putting her in there as a support character.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I would love it. So I think that would be hilarious. Just like you see a Domino show up and you're like, crap. Like this game is either going to be easy or it's going to be the worst luck of my life kind of thing. But yeah, that's my goofy character. So what was yours?
My goofy character was Peter.
Sugar Bear.
And I want him to have the most mundane moveset you've ever seen. We're talking like
a scolding, that's one of his abilities.
Or just like
a stern,
literally like basic punch.
Yeah.
It does very little damage. It would be hilarious to see.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Oh my God, Peter. And if you guys are wondering who Peter is, go watch Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
We won't say anything.
Don't worry, that's not a spoiler at all or anything.
But his official title is Sugar Bear.
Yeah.
So. But okay, and so my serious character is, and this one I gave pretty good thought to, because for me it's more of like part of it is what I want to see in the game because I feel like it's lacking, and the other part is I want to see Marvel Strike Force interpretation of this character.
Yeah.
And for me, it's Dormammu. I think Dormammu would be so cool and like so different, and I have no idea where they could take him, so it'd just be exciting for me.
Right.
But yeah, as far as one of the things that's missing in the game, in my opinion, is a plethora of villains to choose from.
Omega level characters.
And I love Thanos, so I got to go for those Omegas. And Dormammu is definitely one of them, and it'd be really cool to see the cinematic version of him inside the game. I'm sure they would go more in the comic style version of him because it's more grounded. But it would be cool if they kind of.
Is he more grounded in the?
I think so.
I think he's.
I don't think he was just like a. Was he just a floating head in the comics? Like.
Are you talking about like the physical, the aesthetic depiction of him, or?
Yeah, the physical depiction of him.
Well, yeah. I mean, either way, that is.
Yeah, the physical depiction. He's definitely more. He's kind of like a fire, like scaly being, but in the MCU, he's like this trippy.
Like
cosmic rippling,
crazy thing,
like amorphous.
Which
thing.
I mean, yeah, he's crazy powerful.
Which fun fact, Benedict Cumberbatch played Dormammu in Doctor Strange.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. He did the mocap for that. Yeah. Well, if you ever see any of his clips of mocap as the dragon from The Hobbit,
I've seen that. Yeah.
He's next level when it comes to mocap. So I love it. But yeah, no, Dormammu is the guy that I would love to see. I don't want to see him until the next major Doctor Strange movie, but I think that would be super cool to see him in the game. So.
Dormammu would definitely be a good one.
Yeah.
I would like that. I think that...
And he's a villain, and we're just, we don't have a lot of cosmic, mystic villains.
I mean, he definitely, he would deserve an event, though.
Sure. Absolutely.
Anyone like that, I would be
That is a big bad right there.
Yeah. For me, I chose someone much more grounded.
Literally in our reality.
Yes. For me, I went ahead and picked Gambit.
Ooh, Gambit.
I love Gambit.
Gambit's a great character.
So I really... In fact, I don't know whatever happened to it, but I was really excited whenever X-Men Origins came out, although the movie was terrible, in my opinion. Well, yeah, I was about to say a spoiler with Ryan Reynolds, but I'm not going to do that.
If you haven't seen that, shame on you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to do. I think there was even talk about doing a Gambit movie at some point. And
Channing
maybe
Tatum
it still is
financially invested. Last time I checked, in the Gambit thing, so he wanted to get it off the ground, but I think his eyes were too close, and they were just like, no, sorry, Channing.
Gambit's so cool. I love Gambit. He was definitely my favorite X-Men.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's so many cool iterations of him. So I would really love to see him in there. There's an Omega level Gambit, which is just crazy.
Oh, wow.
He has all the powers basically, but it's has to do with a whole bunch of arc shit that we're not going to get into.
But Gambit would be a really cool character to see in the game. So
yeah, I think he would go well. He would be I don't know. He would definitely be a big chain attack kind of guy, and
I feel like he would definitely be he'd kind of fall into the same realm as Yondu, and probably be kind of like a high damage support kind of guy, or maybe...
I think he would be support, but I think he would fall more into the realm of...
maybe a blaster, because he throws cards,
Yeah, I mean, actually a blaster would be pretty good for him, I think. Yeah, maybe a blaster.
And he could fill the slot that we were talking about, because right now they only have heroes and villains, and you were talking it'd be cool if they had anti-heroes, and Gambit would kind of fit into that anti-hero slot, wouldn't he? I mean, he's a hero, but he's kind of he's a hero on his own terms, kind of thing.
No, I mean, I think he's a straight up hero. But if you look far enough in his past, he's he's done some
pretty shady stuff.
Shady shit. Yeah. He actually like really did some shady stuff.
We won't get into that because we don't want to spoil
it. But yeah, I mean, but for the most part, I think he'd be just a straight up hero.
No, that'd be cool.
But yeah, I think Gambit would be really interesting to see. I think he would be probably a blaster. Like
the more you think about it, he's definitely a blaster.
Kinetic card throw and stuff. Like I think that would be pretty cool.
Cool.
But yeah, that is mine. And I guess that's everything.
Well, and we want to hear from you. You know, what's the character that you want to see in the game that they haven't touched on yet, and get your input. So.
Yeah, Any character ideas that you guys have? I'm sure there's tons of threads on Reddit about that already. But
I know there are.
Yeah, in fact, there's one that like we're gonna get into that someone posted up that was.
We're gonna save that for another.
We are gonna save it for another time. But yeah, so I guess we're pretty much done.
Yeah, that wraps it
right
up.
Under the wire of an hour.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just thank you for all your support on our first episode. We had a lot of listens and everything, and we had some comments, some great feedback.
It's been all positive feedback.
Yeah, all positive stuff, and we're not afraid of getting some criticism too.
Yeah,
so if
please,
there's anything that you guys don't like, by all means, tell us.
Yeah,
we're not sensitive. But yeah, so I guess that is it. Just go ahead and we're putting this out on, as I'm sure you've seen from last time. We're putting it out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and in the process of trying to put it on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify is up there.
Yeah,
so,
and
bear with us.
Yeah, I'm going to put up the RSS feed too for there's certain apps that you can just use the RSS feed and it'll pull it right into people's podcast apps. So I'm going to be putting that up there as well. So just follow us on any of those, and that's pretty much it. So until next time, everyone, we will be signing off.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.